I'd like to call to order the Bedford Township Board of Zoning Appeals regularly scheduled meeting for February 6, 2023. We can start with introduction of members. To my right, please.
Jody Rector, Planning and Zoning.
Phil Goldsmith, Township Attorney.
Trina Ingram, Planning and Zoning.
Dennis Kohler, Bedford Township Building Official.
Brad Helm, Planning Commission Representative.
Kyle Dersch, Chairman of the Board.
Jake Lake, Vice Chair.
Joe Gore, Township Trustee Representative.
All right, if we could all go for the Pledge of Allegiance, the flag to my right, and remove our microphones.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Ms. Rector, if you could with the roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Gore.
Here.
Mr. Potter. Here. Mr. Lake.
Here.
Mr. Helm.
Here.
Mr. Dersch.
Here.
All present.
All right, thank you. Looking for a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
I'll make a motion. We approve the agenda for tonight.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No opposed. Motion carried. Looking for an approval of the minutes attached in your packet from the January 9th, 2023 meeting.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed. Motion carried. New business tonight. Looking for a motion to open the public hearing regarding the appeal of Gary and Diana Baden of 3792 Chamberlain, Lambertville, Michigan, requesting an additional plus or minus 400 square foot area variance to construct a 40 by 90 accessory building and an additional plus or minus 280 square foot area variance to permit a portion of an existing accessory structure to remain.
We'll make a motion that we open the public hearing.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed. Motion carried. Ms. Rector, if you could, please.
Yes, again, the applicants are Gary and Diana Baden, 3792 Chamberlain, Lambertville, Michigan, 48144. Property number 5802-375-04901 on 1.48 acres, R2B, single-family residential. On December 2nd, 2019, the applicant was granted a plus or minus 700 square foot area variance and a 5.5 foot height variance to construct a 40 by 80 pole barn on a 1.48 acre parcel. During a site visit from the assessing department, it was determined the structure was 40 by 90. The building department and ordinance department made an additional site visit to confirm, and during that time a stop work order was issued. And at that time the applicant was advised an additional variance request is required to continue with the proposed structure. The applicant is requesting an additional 400 square foot area variance to continue construction on a 40 by 90 pole barn and to include an additional 280 square foot area variance to maintain a portion of an existing structure. In the applicant's submitted letter, he states the project started in 2020 and then halted due to the COVID for a year. When moving forward to purchase the barn kit, they were only available in 15-foot increments, and the applicant made the decision to move forward with a 40 by 90 barn kit. Mr. Baden states in his letter he sent the letter information to the inspector for a new style of the building, but does not recall mentioning the extra length. For Section 419.03, accessory buildings in an R1 through R3 zoning district with more than a half acre, 2,500 square feet, is permitted with a maximum height of 14 feet. The applicant stated in his previous submitted letter he is downsizing his business after 40 years and, however, plans to do some light work associated with his business. At this time, no letters or calls of objection have been received, and should the variance request be granted, the variance is required an additional 400 square foot area variance to continue construction of the 40 by 90 pole barn and a 280 foot area variance to maintain a portion of the existing structure. So a total of overall for both requests would be an 1,100 square foot area for the new structure plus 280 to maintain a portion of the existing structure. Any motion to grant the request should include the applicant must submit for an amended building permit to move forward with the 40 by 90 structure and to continue to work with the building department on obtaining a demo permit for the portion of the existing structure to be removed and ensure building code requirements on remaining portion of the existing structure and to obtain a certificate of occupancy for the new pole barn once completed to ensure it meets all requirements of this request.
Thank you. Is the applicant here and would like to go ahead and state your name and address for the record, please? If there's anything you'd like to add?
Gary Baden, 3792 Chamberlain Drive. I don't think I need to add anything.
Is there anyone else here to comment on this matter of tonight's agenda?
think I got the letter that I retyped.
All right, looking for a motion to close the public hearing and move to discussion.
Didn't copy it.
Make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, is there any additional questions for the applicant?
So I do need to get a continuing permit, building permit.
You'll have to do, yes, you'll have to
Then-
get, if they grant you a variance,
They're going to
Okay,
discuss
okay.
it right
you'll have
now.
to amend the permit
Right.
to include these two things, if they permit you to continue.
Yeah, I'll start off with some questions. Mr. Baden, when the original drawings are designed, when you first came to the board and asked for a variance, it was a different style of pole barn. I think it was Menards.
Yeah, it's
If the notes correct.
all wood structure.
Okay.
This one's a little different style. I don't know if we got a picture. It's not a very good picture, but
Yeah, I did get that. Thank you. My question is more, okay, so the original plan was based on a Menards kit, which was a 40 by 80. The new barn or the new kit that you purchased was a 40 by 90. Now, was there a reason you didn't go with the Menards versus the other one, or?
when I started in 2020 approximately, price of lumber went up, and I just said, forget it. It never really came down for a while. And then my neighbor has the same style of barn, and I like the style after, this more open span inside. And I wish I would have done that the first time. I mean, in my letter, I stated that's my floor. The concrete. No. I put the building up first and then poured the floor inside. Oh, for the first Menards one, yeah, I had already dug holes to put that up.
You poured concrete at the bottom of the poles.
Yeah.
to sit on.
Because they were the
footers.
6x6, timbers. I didn't put anything in. I covered the holes up with pallets and said, forget it. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was all set to go. I did not purchase the building yet, though. Yeah. Right. It would have been 75. I guess I would have went smaller. So I asked for 80, but they said, well, we don't do that. No, they won't. Yeah, they could have. Yeah, but I said 90. Honestly, I did not even dawn on me to inquire or something. I sent Dennis the stuff on the building, but I never said how big, lengthwise was bigger. That was my bad. Yeah. Well, I know. I guess it's still my bad, my fault. Yeah, I believe so. In our first thing 2 years ago, but it's this pretty solid little barn, just a barn style that I built years ago, and it's got some add-ons to it. Those were coming down on the add-ons for sure. Yeah, and talking to her, and yeah, I wanted to move it closer to the house.
I didn't remember the 280 square foot from the first time we talked.
I don't think that was on there, was it?
Yeah, that's addition to now.
She shed.
I had just a couple follow-up on the similar lines. So the first building you were looking at was from this Elgin Service Center building?
No, it would have been Menards.
It would have been Menard.
Menards.
Okay.
Total wood structure.
Okay, and that was the 40 by 80.
80, yeah.
So the one from Elgin Service Center, is that the new one?
It's
40 by
up now,
90?
yeah, 40 by 90.
Okay. 'Cause that one's just before the, all right, the lava border. Then you did not purchase anything of the 40 by 80 at all?
No.
Did you look at any other ones that were 40 by 80?
No, lumber, when COVID hit, I priced all this stuff. Lumber just
Lumber's
like
out.
doubled almost.
Yeah.
It took a while to go down. I mean, I wish I would have went with this the first time, what I put up.
Anybody has anything?
I'm gonna just put it out there. I mean, I understand the switching, you know, with COVID kind of giving you a pause. But what I don't understand is this was ended up being a 40 by 90. A 40 by 75 would have fit, you know, within the parameters of the original variance. And now what we have in front of us is even more of a variance that wasn't reported, and the building was already being built or close to being built, I believe. And now we're also asking on top of that another 280, or, you know, to me, 1,380 over. Now, I get it, the property is almost an acre and a half, and I think it permitted 3,000 square feet of accessory buildings. So if you go with the 40 by 75, I believe that's right about 3,000 square feet on an acre and a half property, which I think this is pretty darn close. I'd be fine with that. But, I mean, now we gave a variance once before, and we're being asked for something even more so that's already been done. So that's where I'm a little questionable in this.
And this is a self-created problem, so there's no practical difficulty that we can even come up with. And we have to remember that when we were battling Mulch King, one of his requests was for a variance, that his was a self-created problem on a berm, and because he got a variance to leave the trees as a berm, and then they granted it, and then he went and cut the trees down, and then came back and asked for another variance, and we denied that because it was a self-created problem. I don't know where the practical difficulty is.
The only thing I could think of to be reasonable would be because of the work stoppage, but to that point, a 40 by 75, albeit smaller, would have fit within the parameters of the original request.
I tend to agree with you, Mr. Lake. I remember we discussed this back in 2019, and with the 1.48 acres, we were very close to the 1.5, and I think that was some of the discussion at the time about the oversize and being really close to the 3,000 square foot. So I do agree that we'd be struggling to find a practical difficulty on this.
That's Phil, and that's one of the hurdles we have to overcome, correct? So we have to have practical difficulty.
That's required by the statute, yes. Either, in this case, a practical difficulty, yes. So that's one of the things. It's supposed to be stated on the record what the practical difficulty is.
And, I mean, I guess the building's almost completed could be a practical difficulty. I mean, where do we go from here? I mean, what happens? It just stays 80% completed? I mean, I don't want to see that, but I also don't want to set a precedent for future people coming before the board to just, you know, we grant a variance and then they do something else and then they come back, and so, I mean, this is very, it is.
A question for Mr. Baden real quick. Is this still being used for former business equipment storage, or has the use changed?
I still do work, but I do it by myself, so it's not, like, I think we discussed that last time. We don't have semis coming down the road. We don't have employees coming down. It's not, you know, it's a dead-end street, for one thing, so I'm 64, so I'm getting pretty close to quitting everything. But I'll always want to mess with stuff, so. And I just wanted a bigger building. I admit I went the other way instead of should have went smaller. It just never, I guess, ignorance, I don't know, I just brain dead.
If anyone's prepared to make a motion, I think we would entertain one at this time. If there's any additional questions for the applicant.
I'm not prepared to, because I can't get over the practical difficulty. That's
So,
the hurdle we have to overcome.
I guess if I may, I mean, here's my thing. I do feel bad about the situation, right? But also, two things I'm concerned about, right? So yeah, if the building's already built, which I believe the building is already constructed, taking down a 15-foot portion of it to, because it looks like it's just a module, right?
Well,
You buy the materials, you
10 foot.
Right.
I mean, I'd have to make 10 foot work, but I don't really see that happening. So.
But you take that out, you've got a building that's not built appropriately. But then also you've got the 280 additional square foot requirement for the additional shed. That one, I don't know that we even approve that at this point. I think we just focus on the larger building would be my point. But I'm still, to your point, we've got to come up with a practical difficulty, and I'm struggling with which one would be.
There's two components to this request, and you just identified them. You could grant one and deny the other, and I think maybe that's where you were headed with this, Mr. Lake. So you don't have to grant the request to allow the older, I'll call it shed, to remain on the property. That's within your purview to either grant or deny. It's within your purview to grant or deny the entire request that's before you this evening. So I think you've identified the not practical difficulty, but the difficulty you are presented with tonight, because if you deny it, then Mr. Baden is going to have to disassemble this building in some fashion that's acceptable to our building inspector to remove the part of that building that wasn't previously approved. So I guess you just have to listen to what he says and measure his veracity as to how this happened, and take it from there.
I will share with the board that since COVID, the push from wood pole barns to steel structures is huge. I can tell you that. But it is a true, it is a true thing that people have changed ranges.
We all realize, just going to Lowe's even a year or two ago, it was shell shock of what the price of lumber was. Ridiculous. $18 for a 2x4 stud or whatever it was. It's crazy.
How much of a practical difficulty do we want to put on that as a potential, right? If you want to think about it.
The cost could be a practical difficulty, wood versus steel at the time. That could be.
But it doesn't negate the fact that we're 10 feet beyond.
Correct.
What was approved.
Yes.
You should focus on the practical difficulty that was presented at the time this variance was granted.
The very beginning, yeah. Dead end road, large lot. There's some bigger barns in the area also. His neighbors, a couple doors down, have large barns as well, so it kind of fits the area. The barn does.
So yeah, and thank you for that, Dennis. And then, I'm not advocating on behalf of Mr. Baden here, but I'm trying to help you get through this, because I know it's a very difficult situation that you're presented with, and through no fault of yours, obviously. So look at the practical difficulty that was presented by the applicant at the time this variance was granted, and then measure what's been presented tonight as to why we got to where we're at. He is telling you that it was a mistake on his part, that he that he just didn't think that since this building, it sounds to me like, taking him at his word, he would have built a 40 by 80 if this kit would have come in a 40 by 80. It didn't. So he had a decision to make, 40 by 75 or 40 by 90. There may have been a disconnect. He may not have thought about it. I don't know what happened. But that's what we have before us tonight. But I would say this, and he won't like to hear this, that if you did grant the variance on the larger building, you probably should not grant the other variance, because not that there has to be a penalty associated with this, but the fact of the matter,
Buying some of his property, I talked to Dennis about this earlier, and expanding my property bigger.
Make the square footage work by zoning.
He said okay, but I didn't go any further with him on
Right.
that.
So to purchase more property so that the building would be in compliance with the ordinance.
He has a vacant lot next to me that has the sewer running through it. It's basically not buildable, so,
It's a little hardship of buying property, but it doesn't really change the makeup of the.
Yes.
That was my question. I'm looking through the minutes and I can't find it.
I didn't really see one in there. I know we talked about it.
Recall what it was. So to get 3,000 square feet of accessory building, you needed an acre and a half. He was at 1.48 acres.
Oh,
So we're like, okay.
yeah. I can see that.
Was that a kit size question maybe, that was the available kit was 40 by 80?
I think that's what it was.
not the first one.
Okay.
But yeah, we saw
I
that.
guess I just picked a size. I don't remember when I did that. The original.
but for the increase in price due to COVID, that 40 by 80 building probably would have been built. My own experience is, a 4 by 8 sheet of 5/8 OSB went from below $10 a sheet to $40 a sheet during COVID. That just gives you a taste of how prices went sky high. Lumber. Whether you want to somehow attach that as part of a practical difficulty is up to you. It's just an unfortunate situation that you're presented with.
Mr. Potter?
Somewhere in my training over the years, I seem to be helpful with you're not supposed to be a factor in practical difficulty, either potential profit from the owner or potential cost. It's not supposed to be utilized as a practical difficulty. Is that true?
Economic gain typically is not to be considered as a practical difficulty. In other words, hey, I'd like to split my property so that I can profit from selling it. Absent anything else, that could be almost always on a property division, almost always. I would say 100%. When you divide property, you may economically gain from that. So, but there are other factors to consider with that, just by way of example. So these are the facts that you're presented with, that he was going to build the 40 by 80. He had identified the kit. He even went so far as to dig holes for his 6 by 6 posts that would have been called for the 40 by 80 wood frame structure. The prices went up. He canceled the order, looked for an alternative. This is what he found. It came in 15-foot increments. He chose 90 instead of 75. He says not thinking about that he had been limited to 80. Those are the facts.
Anybody want to take a stab at this one?
So I think Mr. Lake's over here writing feverishly.
Okay.
Do we need to take a 5-minute recess? So you can
It's a
write?
tough one.
Pull it from the amendment.
It's a precedent that is a dangerous one to set potentially, and it's not the first deconstruction that we've been through. We can add it in, or we can make a separate motion for the second building if we'd like.
If the one's denied, he can keep. Right. If you deny the 40 by 90, then the smaller structure becomes moot, because you can have that the way it is right now, the way it exists right now. And Bob, you should state a reason for your denial. It should be on the record, the reason for your motion to deny.
Right.
So clarification, Phil. So if the denial goes down, does that mean the variance is granted?
No.
Okay.
No. It means the motion to deny did not pass, and if someone chose to make another motion, they could make another motion.
Okay. I'll support for Mr. Potter.
We have support for the motion. Are there any further discussions or amendments to make to that? I know Mr. Lake's over here.
No amendments to this one.
I guess to clarify, Mr. Goldsmith, if this motion were to fail on a vote, we can propose a second?
Yes, yes, you can. The failure of this motion, should it fail, as Joe asked, does not mean that the variance application is granted. It simply means that a motion was made to deny, a roll call vote was taken. If less than the required votes are obtained, then it fails. And someone else, if they chose, could make a motion to grant it based on whatever that motion is. Does that make sense?
I think so.
So the public knows that it's denied, and I vote is agreeing to the denial.
Yeah. Jody asked me, just so the public knows, the motion has been made and seconded to deny. So an aye vote means that is a vote to deny the motion. Yeah.
That made it more confusing.
Clear as mud.
Understand?
The motion.
I understand, yeah.
Yeah, is a positive motion to deny.
Yep.
Voting yes means you're voting to deny the motion. Okay?
I just wanted to
Voting yes means that you're voting on the motion to deny the
Deny the
variance.
request, okay.
deny the request.
Yes means deny the request.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Got it.
I just wanted to make sure before we took a roll.
All right, we'll go for a roll, Ms. Rector.
Okay. Mr. Potter? Mr. Gore?
Yes.
Mr. Lake?
No.
Mr. Helm?
No.
Mr. Dersch?
No.
Motion failed.
I'll make a motion. I'm going to make a motion that we approve the extra the plus or minus 400 square feet. Practical difficulty being that the original building request of 40 by 80 was being fulfilled. COVID struck. Obviously, prices went sky high. Looked at a different alternative building and only came in 15-foot increments. The applicant made a inappropriate or wrong decision in this case. We can rectify that. But I would also request that we deny the additional 280-foot accessory building at this time. Also to that, would request that we amend the building permit to 40 by 90, obtain a demo permit for the other accessory building, and make sure we have our certificate of occupancy. I don't think friendly amendments.
I think,
I'll second that motion.
I think Phil is that what you were talking about, making sure he works with the building department and planning, because he's got to go through planning again now, or
Just building only.
just building?
Doesn't come
only?
through planning.
Not
Okay.
planning,
Not
just
planning? Okay.
new permit has to be requested from Mr. Kohler, has to be granted based on the decision, if you have enough votes to support the motion that was made by Mr. Lake.
One more question for Mr. Goldsmith. Do the follow or the previous stipulations, such as no commercial use and no employees, follow this variance in addition to, or they need to be added to this variance?
I would recommend that you add it to this motion.
Okay, I would like to make a friendly amendment. Then let me go ahead and add the previous stipulations regarding no commercial use, no employees, or the such. Business cannot be conducted out of this building. It can only be used for storage purposes.
I'll accept your amendment.
Do we need support again for Mr. Helm?
I'll support
All right.
friendly amendment.
Thank you. We can go for the roll call. Ms. Rector?
Mr. Lake?
Yes.
Mr. Helm?
Yes.
Mr. Potter? No. Mr. Gore?
No.
Mr. Dersch?
Yes.
Motion carried.
So,
To see Dennis in the
okay,
morning.
I'll discuss exactly what
Yeah,
needs to
and
be
then
done.
come in the morning, we can go over it all.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Looking for a motion to open the public hearing on the next item regarding the appeal of Ronald and Kathy Nowak Trust of 2040 Charlotte Drive, requesting a 2 plus or minus 37.5 foot frontage variances to create two parcels at that address.
Make a motion, we open the public hearing?
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Ms. Rector, if you could, please.
Again, the applicant is Ronald and Kathy Nowak, 2040 Charlotte Drive in Temperance, parcel number 5802-028-05360 on 10.1 acres, R2A single-family residential, requesting two 37 plus or minus 37.5 foot frontage variance to create two parcels. The applicant is seeking to split the 10.1 acre parcel having 686 feet on the parcel layout on Charlotte Drive. However, only 85 feet of certified road frontage from the Monroe County Road Commission. Per section 41800, Schedule of Regulations, in an R2A single-family residential zoning district, a minimum of 80 feet of frontage is required. As the applicant's desire is to create two parcels, parcel A resulting with plus or minus 42.5 feet of road frontage and plus or minus 7 acres, and maintaining the existing home, parcel B resulting with a plus or minus 42.5 feet of road frontage and plus or minus 3 acres, thus requiring the following variances request for each resulting parcel. Both parcels will require a 37.5 foot frontage variance. No acreage variance is required. The applicant has explained in the submitted letter they have lived on the property for 28 years and advised their request having the practical difficulty of some health changes and becoming more difficult to maintain the entire 10 acres and the challenges of a 2-story home. The applicant states the request would allow them to build a 1-story home on the resulting 3-acre parcel. This desire, in their opinion, would provide a property and size they could maintain moving forward in the future and remain in the area they have resided for 28 years. And again, should the request be granted, two frontage variances of approximately 37.5 foot. At this time, no letters of call to objection had been received. Any motion to grant the request shall be conditioned upon submitted, reviewed, and approved land division application through the assessing department, and to include a depth-width ratio review and approval from the Township Board, as the request will exceed the 6-to-1 permitted by ordinance.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? Yes. Would you like to step up and add anything to Ms. Rector?
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
I mean, we can, but we're just 28 years older than we were when we moved in.
Understood. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to come up and comment on this If you could step up and please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, Holly Bristol, 1990 Charlotte, and I don't know the Nowak, so nice to meet you. I know it, and actually my first meeting, so bear with me. I really actually wasn't going to speak, but I feel like I need to on behalf of Charlotte Drive residents. So when we moved to Charlotte Drive, 85-foot was required and was part of the reason why we moved to that particular parcel when we were searching for the residents. So we enjoy the suburban residential area, recreation, so a lot of wildlife around us. Again, I wasn't sure if the 85 feet had changed. So one of the reasons why we attended tonight, like the neighborhood feel. I would just ask you to please consider, if you do grant this, what does it mean for the rest of the Charlotte Drive properties? Does that mean that everyone else can decide to split their 10 acres? We were under the impression that no one could. So I'd ask you to consider that when you consider the request.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to step up regarding this? All right. I think that concludes the public hearing. If we would make a motion.
Make a motion, we close the public hearing?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Any questions for the applicant? If you could step up here and again state your name and address for the record, please, for the board.
Yeah, we may have questions for you guys. So.
Bosses.
I've got a question.
Hi, Kathy Nowak. What else do I need to state?
Your address.
Oh, 2040 Charlotte Drive.
Thank you.
I had a question more for the planning team. Just so I got this for the record, based on the zoning in this particular area, what is the bare minimum for acreage for a split?
It's square footage. I'm going to give you the, pull it up. I think it's
You're asking
10,000?
frontage or square footage?
Not the frontage, the overall, the size of the
10,000 square feet.
10,000 square feet.
And I believe
without
they have
sewers.
public utilities there, so.
That's without sewers, though.
Without water and sewer, they would need, I think they are on
Is it at 15,000? It's right below it.
R2, R1 is 15,000. They are single family R2B. So they are 10,000 square feet.
Okay.
Okay. Is it R2B because it's a part of that other?
R2A requires, R1 is 15,000 square feet in area and 90 feet of frontage. Okay. R2A and R2B are both 10,000 square feet and 80 feet of frontage. And then in a minimum lot size where there is not public, it's 15,000. So that's where Dennis is getting, if they have well and septic, they need 15,000 minimum.
Okay. Just a follow-up question on that too. So R2B in this particular case, which seems like it requires a smaller frontage, is that?
And they are R2A.
R2A, okay, sorry.
That's okay. I just want to make sure we are seeing.
No, that's fine. I want to make sure we get it right too, R2A, yep. The other question I have around that is, Charlotte is obviously a part of a neighborhood, almost a niche in the township, if you will. Yes. I mean, the lesser frontage, is that because it's technically in a neighborhood, or?
Well, they were 85, when they were created, each parcel, if you look at the survey that was included in the packet, all of those parcels were created at the same time, and the Monroe County Road Commission certified the road from half of the letter that was included as well from the Road Commission, that it is determined half from Bernard to Wilford, which are both 60 feet in width. So you have the 30 feet of Bernard and 30 feet of Wilford that are certified from the Road Commission, plus then each parcel then was in the other 4 parcels, B, C, D, and E were all created with the additional 85 feet of frontage. I believe at the time it was still 80 feet of frontage requirement, but dividing it up, each parcel received approximately 85 feet. When this survey was done, Mrs. Nowak and the parcel that's labeled G, those were not defined frontages, and then taking the certification from the county, from the Road Commission, it determined that they both are approximately 85 feet of frontage as well.
Right, if you
To
look,
include the 30 feet of the certified road of Charlotte.
see, it's the far south of Charlotte is actually a platted subdivision. So Wilford and Bernard are both a platted sub. These are meets and bounds parcels north of a platted subdivision. So if that road were developed, they wouldn't be here for variance. They could
Correct.
split their properties up into
If you look-
80-foot lots. And or if somebody puts a road back in there, they could do 80-foot lots on a road.
If you look at her parcel, which is labeled parcel A on that survey, where it shows the 340 feet, if Charlotte Drive would have been developed with part of that plat, she would actually have that total of 340 feet to her parcel line of road frontage. The remainder is to the parcel to the west of her road, of her parcel layout of the other 200 and some feet.
Right, so I think
340.
it's been a while, but I've been back there, and it does seem as if there was an intent to continue that development, and it never.
No, and now it's the parcel that is being developed as Monterey Estates.
That's Bernard. Charlotte.
That's 30
limit-
feet of Bernard, yes.
That's the limit of where the official approved road is.
Official road
from-
is, yes.
from
Measured
there-
from her parcel over is 30 feet
So from there to the boundary.
from there to the bend of her.
From there to the boundary between A and B is roughly 85 feet.
From that to the end of her parcel, yes, is 80 feet
Officially, we can't use anything to the left of that as frontage.
frontage, and not certified road frontage, correct?
Because it's not certified.
It's
It
not
is
certified
frontage.
from the county
It's
because
not
it's
developed.
flat.
Yeah. There could be gravel there, but it's not official frontage.
Correct.
And just for the record as well, there is no other access to these parcels with the exception of Charlotte Drive. Or Charlotte was a road.
Through the neighborhood, yes, there is no other access. They have no other road frontage except Charlotte. Correct.
Any additional questions for the applicant regarding their request?
I think my comment would just be the practical difficulty that the applicants are putting forward. I don't know necessarily meet the muster, but I think we focus actually on the road. My opinion is the length of the road, the orientation of the lot, and with no other road access, they've got the property to be able to split appropriately within regards to what the zoning is. In my opinion, the practical difficulty is the road and the fact that it wasn't further developed, and these lots, there's a lot of property that doesn't touch the road here, would be my opinion.
My worry would be, like one of the neighbors stated, open a Pandora's box. I think everybody moved in there probably so they had 10 acres and they wouldn't have neighbors and everything like that. Next thing you know, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more lots. Everybody could cut those in half and cut the road in half, and now you got, instead of 8 homes, you got, or 4 homes, you got 8 homes.
That's true, but that's the zoning on the current property, right?
Correct.
But also, somebody would have to put in the money to actually develop it, right? Because you got to have the frontage to be able to do that.
They all can develop.
Yeah.
They all can develop. They all put a road in. They can put as many lots within the zoning district.
Okay.
So their development potential, each one of them has
Okay.
development potential.
They just need to put the road in.
Put the road in. Yep. And that's like them. They have a road. They would just have to develop the road, but it's just to themselves.
Ms. Rector?
I would just like to provide clarification. Ms. Nowak has where the road is. She has, if it was developed, she would have 340 feet of road frontage. Parcel B would still only have 85 feet. Parcel C would only have 85. Parcel D would only have 85, Parcel E would have 85, and Parcel G would have 326, should the road be developed from one end of the parcel to the other. Those parcels in the center would still only have 85 feet of road frontage as they stand today. Just for clarification, that those parcels have no other road frontage, whether it's fully developed as a road or not. They would only have 85. Parcel A and Parcel G would be the only ones with additional road frontage.
So I think what you're saying is if they wanted to, it'd be very challenging to develop the rest of this.
They would have no other road frontage except the 85 feet to split in half.
As you said before, if they were to theoretically develop the road, that takes the minimum requirement to 10,000 square foot a lot.
I believe 15 because they require,
The frontage.
they don't have public utilities.
Okay.
They don't have water and sewer, they have well and septic.
No,
Correct.
no, we have public.
You have sewer,
We have sewer and public water.
so 10,000 square feet.
So then it would be 10.
Okay, so that could be divided up into numerous 80-foot increments of that 340 then.
If it wasn't already at 85 apiece for those middle three pieces of property.
I'm assuming there's probably not any plans to make road improvements on Charlotte Drive.
I think the developer up front was looking at doing it, but they needed 30 more feet from you, or 33 feet. And the road commission didn't want them to develop just a 30-foot road.
Okay.
So if they would have matched with another road right away on the north side, they could have easily finished the road out to the new development.
Oh, you're speaking of Monterey?
Yeah,
Okay.
Monterey Estates.
Yeah.
Am I speaking out of turn?
No, Monterey is a loop. They will have no, there will be no connection.
Yeah, it's
to
done. They're
Charlotte.
not using it anymore, but that was an
not being
option that they were
used.
looking at.
The intent at the time, I believe, of the subdivision was for that parcel to the west to possibly be an extension. So it was created for a stub street. However, since that time, Monterey Estates has come through the process, and that development is a loop of Zachary Lane that comes in and out off of Stearns.
Okay.
Mr. Potter?
So with the minimum required for R2A, for R2B, the minimum required frontage is 80.
80.
So there's really no way to split this.
Without a variance.
Without-
They would have to seek a variance. They only have 85.
Or developing this.
Road
defined
frontage.
road,
Or build a road.
Or build a road.
I can't imagine that's an easy approval process with the county.
Yeah. They need a turnaround or a cul-de-sac and proper road right away, probably.
In the other case, though, if I'm thinking about this appropriately, if we do grant this variance,
Let's stop
pretty
doing
much
it.
kind of locks it in. You're
Correct.
not going to be able to do any more splitting of this piece of property.
Correct.
Unless years down the road, another road is built, which I don't foresee that coming anytime soon. So I'll just make another comment. Here's where my head is at, guys. As far as a split, they've got plenty of property to make the split appropriate. What they don't have is enough road to make this. If they did have the road, this would not even become before this group. We wouldn't even be talking about this tonight. It would have already been done. I'm of the mindset that we've got a practical difficulty, and we probably make a motion. I'd be willing to do that if you guys, unless somebody else has any other discussion they want to make.
I agree on the road in this aspect. Typically, we're looking at acreage or square footage and frontage difficulties. However, in this case, it's a little unique in the sense of how the road's developed.
Okay, so make a motion then. I'll make a motion that we approve the parcel split A and B at 37.5 feet of frontage per parcel on Charlotte Drive, with the practical difficulty being the length of Charlotte Drive, the orientation of the lot to that drive, and then also no other road access being able to allow for the split.
Would you consider adding to that this lot, among all the lots of A, B, C, D, E, is there an F?
No, G.
G?
It's a G.
A, B, C, D, E, G. This lot or parcel A is unique in its attributes from all of the other lots because of the width of the lot, whereas lots B, C, D, and E only have 85 feet in terms of width at or near the road.
I would also consider that as a friendly amendment, yes.
Well, I can't make the amendment, and it hasn't been.
I'll add that as an amendment to my original motion.
And I don't think it's been seconded yet, right?
Oh, it has not.
So yeah, you can add it on if you feel that that's appropriate. You see where I'm going with this, precedential value.
There are.
And Jody raised a good question, or a good point. Include the diagram as an exhibit to the record of the granting of the variance, if in fact it is granted. I don't know whether it will be or not be.
Only because that's what refers to A to G parcels.
Okay. I will do that. I will add what Jody recommended to my motion.
The exhibit of the parcel diagram. I think we also need to consider the addition of the land application process through the assessing department and the depth of which you ratio review and subsequent approval if it exceeds the 6-to-1 ratio.
I will accept that to my motion.
It's contingent upon that, yes. Has to be.
You have something,
Just
Mr.
a
Potter?
question. This has been seconded?
Not yet.
Not yet. We're still
I'll
discussing
ask
the
anyway.
motion.
Parcel G, that was not included in the amendment? Okay.
It is frontage.
Because if the road changed, that would,
It also has additional frontage going the other way on the plat.
okay. All right, that's all I wanted. Because it doesn't seem like parcel G would be included in that amendment because it'd just be B, C, D, and E are locked in at 85 feet. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I know that I'm not speaking, but could I just ask a question, or is that on board?
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. But lot G, which is next to my lot, also has large frontage, like vanilla.
I think that's what Mr. Potter is asking.
So are you saying that they could do the same then?
I think that's what Mr. Potter is trying to get clarification on for the motion, was G included in, as it's not as unique as B through E and not A and G, if you look at the survey?
Well, my point was B through E are
Just
at
the,
85 feet of frontage no matter what happens to Charlotte Drive.
correct.
Whether it's
Developed or undeveloped.
extended, made official, whatever, longer. But A and G could both stand to
They could develop the road,
That's the
add more
question.
frontage.
increase their frontage quite a
We're
bit.
not here to
can't
talk
make
about
it-
that piece
we're
of
not-
property, though.
Yeah,
Oh.
we're in
You
front
can't
of
make a
us.
judgment on C, or
Yeah.
G.
I know.
If whoever owns
I just don't want to
that
include
parcel, they
G.
can come back and ask that, absolutely, but that's up to their discretion.
And keep in
Correct.
mind,
I just want to make
it
sure
would
that
have to be at their
he's-
discretion and meet all the requirements. If you look at the aerial where the home is placed,
Correct.
of that nature of still meeting setbacks, frontage, acreage, those would all have to be looked at in an individual application.
Every application has to be reviewed on its own merit. What you have before you is an application as to parcel A. I just wanted it reflected in the motion that parcel A is unique from parcels B, C, D, and E because its width at the southern boundary of all those parcels is much greater than the others.
I did add that to my motion.
Absolutely. I believe we're still looking for support on this motion to take it for a vote as it sits.
I'll support.
All right, Ms. Rector, if you could with the vote, please.
Mr. Lake,
Yes.
Mr. Helm,
Yes.
Mr. Potter,
No.
Mr. Gore,
No.
Mr. Dersch.
No.
Motion failed.
Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Is there anyone out in the audience that would like to give additional public comment for the record tonight? Could you please
have to come up.
step up with your name and address, please? All right, we'll move to board and staff comments.
Deadline for the next meeting is next Monday. I will send an email out should there be another meeting for next month. Other than that, everyone have a good evening.
Nothing for me. Thank you.
I have nothing.
I have nothing.
I have nothing.
Thanks, everyone, for coming out tonight.
Nothing further. Thank you.
Everybody have a great weekend, and can you bring us an easy one next time, please? I mean, it's tough. Everybody have a good evening.
Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Adjourn.
All's favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.